We've seen some great chamber matches and not so good chamber matches. Hopefully, the 2024 Elimination Chamber isn't as bad as the one we're talking about today. The Extreme Elimination Chamber at December to Dismember. This event doesn't just feature the worst chamber match ever, but could be one of the worst WWE pay-per-views ever. In 1995, ECW held a pay-per-view called December to Dismember, and after the original ECW faded away, WWE tried to revive them in 2006 by making ECW a third brand alongside SmackDown and Raw. They also brought back the December to Dismember pay-per-view as well. However, it wouldn't live up to what they thought it would. It was so bad that even Paul Heyman hated it. The event kicked off with a decent match, with the Hardy Boys versus Eminem, and after a back and forth 20-minute match, Jeff hit the Swanton on Johnny Nitro, snatching the victory. Unfortunately, this was the only match that was praised highly by critics, and this is where it starts to get worse. The next match was Matt Striker versus Balls Mahoney in a Striker's Rules match. The rules, as you can imagine, give the advantage to Striker. In this match, the rules are no gouging of the eyes, no pulling of the hair, no maneuvers off the top rope, and most importantly, no foul language. You'd think Balls Mahoney would struggle in this sort of match, but he actually came out with the victory. However, after this match, Sabu was shown on screen injured backstage, and the injury left him unable to compete in the Extreme Elimination Chamber match. Behind the scenes, rumours swirled about Sabu's commitment and attitude. Speculation arose that WWE management perceived him as useless in regular matches, leading to a defeat by Umaga on Raw. Vince McMahon, seeking to reshape the narrative as usual, proposed replacing Sabu with Hardcore Holly, pissing off Paul Heyman. During the whole segment of the injury, the crowd chanted bullshit. The unexpected turn of events set a negative tone for what was to come. The night continued with a tag team match, but the discontent lingered. Elijah Burke and Sylvester Turkey secured the victory over the FBI, but the audience just chanted TNA, which signalled their frustration. Then we got a standard match between Daivari and Tommy Dreamer, which took a chaotic turn when the Great Khali interfered, leading to his ejection from ringside. The chaos didn't end there though, as the Great Khali returned to deliver a brutal choke bomb to Dreamer after the match. After this, the night saw an intergender tag team match, with its fair share of drama. Ariel and Kevin Thorne faced off against Mike Knox and Kelly Kelly. The match ended with Ariel executing a leg sweep on Kelly Kelly for the win, and this set the stage for the post-match chaos. Ariel and Thorne would put a post-match assault on Kelly Kelly, but it was short-lived thanks to an unexpected intervention from the Sandman. He stormed the ring with his kendo stick, striking Thorne repeatedly and turning the tide on a night fraught with controversy. Finally, we would get to what was supposed to be the Extreme Elimination Chamber match for the ECW Championship. But before we get to that, check the links in the description to become a dog yourself, join our private community, and get discounts on merch. So after the Sabu injury, Hardcore Holly took his place in the match, and before the match started, Heyman announced that what made this an Extreme Elimination Chamber was that each wrestler in the pods would have a weapon with them. He knew that this wasn't great himself, as before the promo, he admitted to Big Show it was the first time he wasn't motivated to give a promo. The chamber match got underway, and the first two wrestlers facing off in the ring were RVD and Hardcore Holly. In the pods were CM Punk with a steel chair, Big Show with a barbed wire baseball bat, Test with a crowbar, and Bobby Lashley with a table. RVD and Hardcore Holly started battling it out, which was pretty exciting since they'd have some great matches around this time, like the match where Hardcore Holly sliced his back open from the bad table bump. They went back and forth for a bit, and RVD got to show off his athleticism after jumping from the top rope and landing on the fence of the chamber, doing his best Spider-Man impression. Unfortunately for RVD, he got slammed right onto the steel floor. The match wasn't looking too bad at this moment, but it would get worse. First to enter from the pods is CM Punk, and that does get the crowd going. Right on entry, Punk throws his steel chair at Holly and goes at it with RVD. He leg dropped RVD right onto the chair, busting him open. However, that wasn't it for RVD. CM Punk placed the chair into the corner and drove RVD's bloody head straight through it. Then Hardcore Holly recovered and started attacking Punk while Paul Heyman shouted from the outside, telling him to pin one of them so that he could get rid of one of the baby faces. But he wouldn't get to do so, and we got our next entry from the pods. The in-ring work wasn't that bad, but the crowd was just not feeling it at all. Unless Punk was getting the better of someone, of course. Anyway, next up from the pods was Test. Test entered with his crowbar and immediately hit Punk in the stomach with it. Then he went for RVD and proceeded to dig the crowbar right into his cut. And this was finally what we wanted from this so-called Extreme Elimination Chamber, some extremeness. Test went back for CM Punk again, and RVD recovered while those two went at it. RVD started to come back, and he hit everyone with a chair. He kicks the chair into the face of Punk, and hits him with a frog splash, taking him out and sending him to the back and pissing off the crowd. And this is where it gets worse. Right after this, for some weird reason, Test looks like he's about to hit RVD with a big boot. However, he chooses to hit Hardcore Holly instead, and goes for the pin. And the ref does an awful job botching the count, making it look like Holly was supposed to kick out or something. Either way, he gets eliminated. And RVD and Test would go back and forth for a little bit after this. RVD, making a silly decision, chose to jump onto Big Show's pod, and Big Show grabbed his foot, stopping him from jumping. Test walks right over with a smile on his face and a chair in hand, and smashes RVD right over the head with it, and pulls him down from the pod. Test didn't stop there though. He placed the chair onto RVD's head, and climbed up to the Big Show's pod himself. He gave RVD an elbow drop from the top, right onto the chair, and got the 3 count. So now the crowd starts chanting bullshit, as they have no one else to cheer for except for Bobby Lashley, who's up next. However, it gets even worse as we get some obvious, selfish Vince McMahon plans ruining even more of the show. So the buzzer goes off, and Lashley's supposed to be up next, but the Bashams come out and lock him in his pod because Big Show isn't out yet, and they don't want Test going one-on-one with him. Due to this, we get ages of waiting around as Lashley's trapped in his pod, and all the action's not on the inside of the chamber, but on the outside. Lashley manages to fight his way out of the pod, and then does some brawling with Test. With Lashley throwing around Test, it got the crowd going a little bit, but they soon went back to booing everything. Lashley managed to hit Test with the crowbar, hit him with a spear, and he got the 3 count. Then, we'd get even more waiting around, as Heyman was trying to hype up Big Show. Eventually, he would enter the ring, and face off against Lashley with his barbed wire bat in hand. The two tried to hit each other with their weapons, and the crowd would start giving TNA chants again. Big Show didn't even get one hit off on Lashley with the bat, and ended up getting it stuck in the fence, of course. Lashley found his opening, and busted Show open, but this wasn't enough, and the crowd heavily booed. He threw Big Show through one of the pods, and Heyman would start losing his mind. You can just hear him screaming as Big Show tries to fight back. Eventually, as Big Show goes for a slam, Lashley reverses it and hits him with the spear to grab the victory and the ECW Championship. The match had some decent action, but the booking was all over the place, and no match flow whatsoever, just so the spotlight could be on Lashley, and he'd look like a beast defeating the 2 big guys at the end. Though it was good for Lashley, it ruined the whole match, as it led to RVD and Punk getting eliminated early, and those were the only 2 that the crowd actually cared about, and probably the 2 best workers. And this is just a perfect example of Vince McMahon ripping off his fans so that he could push who he wanted. However, he'd blame it all on Paul Heyman. Less than 24 hours after the pay-per-view, WWE announced on their official website that Vince McMahon had sent Paul Heyman home, stating that slumping television ratings and a disgruntled talent roster were the causes for Mr. Heyman's dismissal. But we all know this was really Vince's doing. Let me know in the comments what Elimination Chamber you thought was the worst. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, click here for another, and remember to check the links in the description to become a dog yourself.